It's my deep pleasure and a privilege to be here with you. It matters to me that I can share to people who are listeners, and you all are. I met a few of you, and it's a great pleasure to meet you and hear what you're doing. But more than that, congratulations on being a member of the human race. The creative species who inhabit this magnificent planet Earth. On being here, on being present, on being now. That's one of our great tasks, isn't it? The human being's health and happiness is determined on how the individual expresses and appreciates the basic needs, creative drive which flows through the head, the hands and the heart ongoingly throughout life, and on how much it is appreciated by the individual or even understood by the individual, and understanding that all humans are equal in this. We're all born with this flow through us. In this, the right to be creative, to self-express, is a human right, so long as we do not hurt someone else or harm ourselves. The right to dream, to imagine and create is a human right. Animals don't create in the way we are as a creative species. They never built a place like this, or all our cities, etc., etc. Some of them do create little nests for themselves, etc. But we are the creative species. And we are transient travellers on planet Earth. Each of us is born with a unique name, a fingerprint, and unique circumstances of our birth. Every birth is different. We all have a mother, and we all have a father, and we all have a country. Whether we get to know them and what the circumstances are, we begin an awe-inspiring adventure with very limited time on Earth to look at life's wonders, with opportunity to laugh, to cry, to experience beauty and friendship, to learn about love. How these things are achieved depends on what we do with a creative spark inside ourselves. The human being must love life and know that the spirit of life within us is immeasurable. We cannot measure the spirit of life within ourselves. It's limitless. It's immeasurable. And it's there for every human being. But it must be individually claimed and cherished for our own survival. I want to show you how creativity can save us. But the first step is no one is more responsible for your creative development than you are. Who you are, what you become is your own business. Where you put yourself in your work is unique to you. If your father is a carver and your mother is a carver, you do not have to be a carver. If your father's a rodeo man, you can tell the 3-year-old boy he doesn't have to be a rodeo boy, although he thinks he's going to have to be a rodeo boy. You are responsible for what you are, what you do, what you become. And there are many factors which can help or hinder this creative development. What you do about it is your choice. You may choose to blame others and But what is better is if you take deep lessons from the things that happen, from seeing obstacles as positive builders and taking deep lessons from them, your talents will grow and you can profit with wisdom and experience a bank of abundance flowing through you. Every minute expecting something new, something wonderful. It's absolutely possible. And it does not take money to be creative. But it takes love and your self-love and the appreciation of you as an individual being on this transient trip to planet Earth. Knowing who or what I am, stripped of all the false trappings of the labels. That's the core truth about you. Indeed, the way you have handled your creative gifts and grown them is the sum total of you today. You can grow a greater, fuller abundance of life because you are the boss of yourself. I learned that in a big way from my 6-year-old child who stood in front of me. Mummy, I want you to remember, she said with a pointed finger, I am the boss of me at 6. And I said, yes dear. Well, she's done wonderful things with her life, quite wonderful. And we are not here to do what has been done before. We are not here to copy anybody else. We're here to write our own stories, paint our own pictures, play our own games. Creative people are aware of the creativeness and the importance of creativeness to their life fulfillment. They make a decision to take risks, even to risk all for the desires and objects of their magnificent obsessions and dreams. They are not afraid to pursue this with intensity. And thank you, Jude. I felt your passion, your intensity, and your ability to be the boss of yourself, sorry Tony, and to go ahead. I know you're not afraid to fail, because failure is part of the deal, but it's important not to be a spectator, but to be a participator, taking pride in and developing, exploiting and enjoying your own strength, and learning to get to know yourself with deep, deep surety, so that you really know yourself, that you're very aware of who you are, what you can do, what you can't do. Individuals have the power to start or to stop creative processes and to grow within themselves because they're in charge of themselves. Each of us has our own journey, and we must do what we love to do to the best of our ability. We must forge a new future, not rehash the past. We cannot obliterate the past to progress the future, but we are instigators, we are explorers, we are inventors, we are creators, and we're ready to invest energy to make a great contribution and a fresh input into problems. The isolation which is necessary for working in space and time and tranquility for our creative activities does not deter us. We know we will be isolated from time to time. It's not a deterrent, it's a necessity. Creative people go beyond where we have been before. They take great delight in deep thinking. They're able to feel comfortable as the minority of one. They love to work and work hard and to self-improve. They do not need the approval of others, for their self-motivation is absolutely overruling. They have the courage to be creative and the sense of a great mission. They are humorous, terribly funny actually, energetic and open-minded. They're aware of many, many more opportunities, and this curiosity drives them to find original answers, to risk-take, and to overcome fears of failure. Richard spoke about fear of failure. It's a very important aspect of being a creative person. But along with this, creators have the ability not to panic. And they have a sense of foreverness about the universe, the cosmos, and the world within worlds, within worlds, within worlds in which we live. This glorious fascination with patterns, with ideas, with colours, with creativity, builds a wonderful world attitude which overrides all the disappointments and rejections. Creative people are highly rejected, of course, and they know that's normal. I have to put down here, I love the Maoris, down 7, up 8. Down 7, up 8. Because the more creativity is exercised, the more spectacular the world, planet Earth, becomes as a place of fascination and amazement. The creative human being is in touch with the limitless divine. No doubt about it. It sets them apart, and they understand that nature is the greatest source of awe and wonder, for it brings in the surprise, the magic, the mystery, the unexpected. And expecting the unexpected is essential in developing creative fitness. But it's so strange to me that human beings, the creative species, keep wanting to place boundaries and borders around themselves and their creative chances. Nelson Mandela said, "Fear of shining brightly far outweighs the fear of failing." Yet the spontaneous act of creating brings joy. Unlimited possibilities seem to swirl around us, and pure energy seems to just be immeasurable around us. Creativity takes courage and involves breaking down our internal barriers. I met Dr. Lucille Meyer when she was talking at the Mid-Decade Conference, and it was in Copenhagen at the time. And her topic was, none so fitted to break the chains as those who wear them. She was speaking about the African women at the time. None so fitted to break the chains as the chains that you wear. You're the one who break them. You know about them and you break them. You walk out and you walk on and you walk up and you stay creative. Being creative comes with huge rights and responsibilities. It is not for the negative or the faint-hearted. It is for the brave. Creators are quite interesting, have an ability which is just there for them. They can work very, very quickly or very, very slowly. Both those things are there waiting for them to use. But it has been loudly cried that feasibility studies are necessary now for doing large festivals and installations on a global scale, because we are increasingly damaging the environment by our creative acts, by not considering the environment in the first place. I remember in 1983 in Florida, 11 islands were wrapped in pink polypropylene fabric, 6.5 million square feet of plastic wrapping 11 islands, just so we could see it and then take it away. Not so as a statement about plastic and its damage at that point. I was shocked at this stage that how did they get permission? It took them 30 years to get the permission to do it. This was Krista and Jean. And then they went on and they wrapped the Point Neuf, a historic bridge in Paris, on a 2-week installation, which was covered again in fabric, and they began wrapping up all sorts of situations, just so we could imagine things differently. And they got permission. I very much doubt they would get permission now from the environmentalists. But consider us in New Zealand in November 2024. Consider 2 marches that you've been aware of. The Turiti Waitangi, the Land March. 45,000 people marched voluntarily to Parliament. How did that affect the environment? Were there portaloos on the way? Where did they sleep? How were they fed? All voluntarily. 45,000 people. And in the next week, 50,000 people paid a great sum, huge sum, to be audience at Coldplay. That wasn't voluntarily done, and it had very large expenses going with it. What are we funding? And why are we funding them? Creativity needs to be responsible to the environment. It's a human right to express, so long as we do not hurt others or ourselves. Human beings must exercise our creative talents responsibly. And you know, we can create out of nothing. Wonderful things out of nothing. And survivors use their creativity to get through all the obstacles. I won a scholarship when I was 16 to go to New York. I came from Piliora Forest, and my school was Kihiki, which was, we weren't allowed to speak Maori, and off I go to New York to study. And the college decided they wanted a head of me to be in the college library, and they ordered a sculptor to make a head of me that would be bronze and stay in the college library. And I was to walk up an icy, very winter, cold, icy path to a little wee garage where there was a tiny lady, about as big as you, Joe, a dude, waiting. And in front of her she had a plinth, a wad of clay, a little wad of clay, and 6 hand-cut tools of wood which she had carved herself. I was fascinated because I went to America to find my mentor, my first mentor. I was introduced prior to that to many famous people who didn't ring a bell with me particularly. And suddenly I'm sitting in the shed and I'm watching her make my head right in front of me. And I asked her, who taught you? I taught myself. She had very little language. How? She said, I was in concentration camp. I thought I must do something. I must create something. I took the clay at my feet and the urine and I mixed it together and I did the prisoner in front of me. Then I smashed it down. Then I did the next prisoner and I smashed it down. And every day I made heads. And those prisoners were taken away. It was Auschwitz. They were to the gas chambers. And she sat there using the clay and the urine. But the guards noticed and they pushed the prisoners away. And they took the heads and they threw them onto these huge big bonfires of clothes and shoes to bisque them, and went home with their heads. And the general saw, and they took her out and she did all the generals. And she had done President Kennedy just before she did me. It was in 1963, just before he was killed. She was my mentor. We could hardly speak. But I saw how creativity had saved her. She didn't even know she could do heads before she went there. But she took what was there and she made those tools, which were still on her little desk. And she said, creativity can save any one of us if we reach for it. If we give ourselves permission to succeed or permission to fail, but we cannot give ourselves permission to quit on our creativity. Einstein asked a question, is the universe friendly? And I wanted to ask Jude last night, what contains the universe? Where are the edges of it? You know, I mean, sort of that was where I was at. Einstein said, is the universe friendly? And I am sure that he meant the universe inside each one of us. We are each a universe. We are not replaceable, and we have this one shot at it, so we need to use the nucleus within us as our powerhouse of light and energy. And it requires one thing of us, and that is love. We have to love ourselves as a wonderful being with this creative force in us, which is there for us if we tap into it. A creative human being is a very healthy human being. Not just physically fit, treadmill fit in all the gyms of New Zealand. Imagine how many people are getting fit. Fit for what? To go to the pub? To be creative, fit to be creative. In education we are out of balance. But a balance must be found between physical education and creative opportunities and activities. Art studios are as essential as football fields. I encountered a storm on the North Shore of Auckland when I went to the North Shore Council to say I'd like to put in a little art club for Auckland children, please. And George Gare was the mayor at the time, and he said, why? And I said, well, you know, you've got 98 playing fields, 96 bush reserves, 2 art centres for adults, and nothing for children. And on top of that, you haven't even got policies for children. You've got them for rats, you've got them for roads, you've got them for rates, you've got them for horses, and no policies for children. This is not that long ago. And that's how the first art house got in, and I'm so pleased that my friend Lynette, who was an advocate, is sitting here this morning. She knows that story because her daughter was one of the children who was referred to me to come to the first children's art club. And her daughter Ella has travelled the world since then and has become a very, very mature thinker, deep thinking woman and doing great things for the globe. But our schools need to understand that the flurries that are associated with the creative energy bursts are very strenuous and take 10% more energy than a physical fitness session. And teachers know that kids come back from the art house and they're exhausted, they need rest. They have been so busy, it has all been operating in them. One of the big difficulties, modern day difficulties, is keeping hotel-like standards inside our houses and schools, and it's very preventative to art-making activities. And when I say art, I mean capital A, all the arts, drama, film, festival, music, dance, every aspect of art. And many adults stop. Sometimes they stopped when they were about 10, but many adults shelve the art opportunities or the thing that they would most like to be doing until they return about 40 when they are sick or at a loss or through mishap. And this is very dangerous to their health and to the health of all human beings who put art aside. Because art is a human necessity. It's not a luxury. It's whether you're going to get up and face the challenges. But because of an overload of what I call masturbations, you must do this and you must do that and you must do this, and I'm a taxi and I must get my kids to this and I must, I mean, aren't making us suffering terribly. It's scheduled to be quality intensives at school if you're lucky enough to be chosen to do an extension, if you're good enough, and if you're tidy enough at home where you don't damage the carpet and you're not going to put paint somewhere or whatever your model you're making, you may be able to do a little bit of art on Friday afternoon, aren't you lucky? And Mum will be trying to tell you what you have to do and how to do it. But for long and happy lives, art, the emotion that it brings, helps us to recollect our emotion in tranquility regularly. And we need reflection and we need anticipation. And this gives balanced health. I set up the New Zealand Children's Art House Foundation, and with the goal of putting in 100 children's art houses. I can name 54 I think now, but there are many children's art clubs have been established, and sometimes I'm invited to see them, and sometimes I see a sign up and think, oh, I'll just go in and sit there, and they say, who are you? And I say, oh, I'm Shona. Oh, who's Shona? You know, they don't know the work that went into setting up the concept of art studios in our communities. Why have we got all these RSA and bowling clubs and every other thing that suits every male and every other thing that suits a woman, and nothing that's suiting the children's club to learn to be social and use their talents, to share? We have never thought of it. It's still a very new thing. Wonderful things have happened from the youth and children who have gone to the art clubs in New Zealand. And I can only have time to tell you about one very precious thing. I was in a Portuguese where I put in 30 large, very large murals with the youth of a Portuguese. I lived there. I had a garden there. And I walked in, not one person knew my name when I went to a Portuguese. And a boy read about me from Risby, Rhode Island School of Art and Design, decided to come to New Zealand. He went to Elam and he was tracking me down. He biked on a push bike from Auckland to a Portuguese and stood on my door and said, I've come to work with you. I said, where have you come from? He said, oh, actually, I grew up in Denver, but I've come from America and I can spend a month with you. I want to know how you have got the youth who were in trouble by and large in teams mobilised in this very difficult little community, which we call a patchwork community. So he then went back and we talked at night. We talked a great deal, and he found his solution. He had a fine arts degree from Risby and won the community award there. His solution was the art-olution. Art solution, art-olution. Go home, put it in your Google search. Art-olution. A few years ago, he did a mile-long mural with Palestinian and Israeli children working together. Try that. He's been into all the refugee camps across the world, working with immigrant teens, refugee children, empowering marginalised communities, fostering unity, addressing the social challenges. His name is Max, I just call him Max, but he's now Dr. Max Levi Frieder, starting the Art-olution. I've been over and visited him, and it's inspiring. He's just an ordinary guy who in his spare time runs a few soup kitchens wherever he is and just mobilises the youth to do something. And they do wonderful things. The murals are quite extraordinary in many of the refugee camps of New Zealand. And he found out about it all from coming to the art house. The New Zealand Children's Art Houses and Clubs have challenged all societies of the world to set up a small, doesn't have to be big, art studio and with galleries globally for children. And we train teachers now to recognise children as our supreme innovators. They are in advance of us. Once you really realise that children are in advance of us, you stop trying to tell them what to do and let them get on with it. We encourage children to be the best they can be with their creative spirit within. What is it you like to do? Oh, I do geckos. Lynette will remember this little boy who most unhappy at school. I didn't think he'd last more than 3 days when he started. He really didn't last more than 3 days, actually. He collected geckos. In the end, he had 43 species of geckos in his backyard, and his parents were, I think they divorced in the end, over the geckos, of course. But he was 12 and he took them down to Parliament and he marched in with these cages, and I was there because I thought, I'm going to watch this. Little Andrew comes in with his geckos, and this gecko needs help. And I'll talk to you in a minute, I've just got to fix this. Yes, right. We need to change the law about geckos, he said, everybody. We can't have the South Island geckos moved anywhere else. That place there has to be protected. He won the Naturalist Award for the year for his conservation of geckos. But he came to the art house where he drew and he made models. But he also did dinosaurs, and he also did sharks, and he also, now I think he's a very great tattoo artist. And the thing he will say to the people when they come in, what is it you love? What is your art? And then he will put their art on them in the way that they would wish. But he taught me that we need to dismiss, in New Zealand, to me it's pretty urgent, the image of the grey sameness of an uncreative life. It's unthinkable that we can build heaps of houses all looking exactly the same. And oh, how wonderful, I live in that house. And it's exact, where is our individuality? It would be unthinkable if we let this go much further, because we need to change our attitudes, and the culture of peace must be possible. We also need to dismiss the culture of complaint. If anyone asks me overseas what is the culture of New Zealand at the moment, I say the culture of complaint. We blame, we shame, we pain. We're very good at it. We gossip, we're shockers. Because we need to become a positive force forward. And we can move out to others and enter the marvellous cycle of life. We can share, we can care, we can remember there are others. And I think of John Donne saying, no man is an island. I believe that. No man stands alone. Each man's joy is joy to me. Each man's grief is my own. We need one another. So I will defend each man as my brother, each man as my friend. We start with beingship. I call it beingship. When we meet a child coming into the outhouse, what are they? Who are they? What are they being? And we work there, and then it moves to friendship. They kind of get a glimpse, I'm this, I can do this. I can't do that, I can't do that, I'm never going to be able to do that, whatever is being built or made or songs that are written or dances, but I can do this. So off they go, working hard on themselves. And kids will work their butts off when they've never worked at school at all. And really work day and night for this object of this magnificent obsession that they have, that they've just discovered, although they kind of knew it was always there, but they never really had got to it before. No one is our enemy. The sun rises for all of us, is what we train our teachers to say. The rain falls for all of us. We are really all one, and we have to apply discipline to our own lives and to our own talents, to rediscover the harmony of ourselves, observe ourselves, cherish our creative sparks of human kindness. We are humankind, not human unkind. Would you believe that when you turn on the news? When you turn on Al Jazeera? Humankinds, human unkinds. But kindness and the small acts of kindness can ripple out across humanity. And I always love it in an art house when I see people who've been lonely working in their own place, and they're not lonely anyway, they're just absolutely in their own world, sharing and forming the first real friendship they've ever formed. I saw Singapore when it was dirty, and years later for the new millennium I was there, and it was cleaned up, spanking, oh, so sanitised. And this of course was Lee Kuan Yew, who had a long-term vision. He wanted to maintain racial harmony, and he wanted to ensure social stability. He had a dream. He created an organised city-state. He transformed Singapore from a very small, resource-scarce British colony into one of the world's wealthiest, most advanced nations, because he started with an idea, the small kindness movement. In fact, at one point, he gave everyone a little book to take home, to write in it each day a kindness they had done. The small kindness movement. He created a wonderful Euro-social colony. But he knew something, and I was so thrilled when I found this out. I didn't know this. I had to discover everything for myself anyway, it's the best way. That there is a middle note which is central to our health and our healing. It's a buzz, it's a hum, it's the middle note of the orchestra. A, A, A. It's the sound of earth from afar, I have been told. It is the sound of a busy classroom, I know that. When you hear the teacher and that's all you hear, you know there's a problem in that classroom. That's all you need to do. It's not necessary. When everyone's got their projects, and they will be working their butts off with their projects and putting up wonderful exhibitions that you never dreamed of, and it can be on any subject at all, it's there, learning for themselves. But first, to do that, we must be the boss of ourselves. We must know ourselves, study ourselves. Alexander Pope said, know then yourself, or thyself, presume not God to scan, the proper study of mankind is man. Your job is to be sure about who you are and what you are. Self-awareness. We need to focus on understanding ourselves rather than trying to comprehend divine mysteries beyond our grasp. I find the Star Wars a very difficult question in America. When I think of the enormous wealth going into it by cloned people who are doing what they're told in the military, and then when I talk with them, those cloned people, they do have a dream somewhere down there. Eventually, when they retire, they may get to it. We need to be able to do it now, respond to that now. It's there for us, hidden, possibly, and I think hidden in many New Zealanders who are too busy complaining and blaming someone else for the state that they're in. Sorry, Kirsty. But so that we can transcend our divisions, we have to apply our own discipline. We have to be able to observe ourselves, cherish our own creativity, and live in harmony with nature. Our task is to work both with the individual and society. But first we must know who we are before we can form a true friend. Then we'll be great friends. Then together as friends we can do something for our community. And that was the wonderful thing about the art houses. Once you mobilise a children's art house in your community, and the kids are out there, they will do things. They will change things. They will speak. They have jobs to do. They're busy. They're happy. They're well. I will be a little concerned with rebuilding Gaza. How do you do it? You begin with each individual knowing how incredibly precious they are and their talent is. I want to just make a comment because I work for peace, and I was recently appointed international judge of the World Peace Art Competition, which had those 23,451 paintings to mark. But what I saw was young artists finding solutions for peace, new ways of envisaging the future with joy and creativity. And many of those entries had come from war-torn countries where they had struggled to get material to produce something for this competition. The spirit of art is very, very strong. In fact, art is long. Sport is short. It's a quick fix. Go out there, play a game. Who's going to remember in a few years who played what where? But if you build a wonderful piece, we know about Rome because of the gladiators, because of the architecture, because of what is left for history. Art is the long and much more serious matter now. That I believe, if you like, there are two great gods. One is the God of art, the other is the God of science. It's sort of become like that. And I believe we are following the wrong God home. Art is empathetic. It's about the soul. It's immeasurable. It's subjective and it's personal. But science is measurable, clinical, objective, and used, unfortunately, today to promote economy. It's clinical. It could be called cold. But art can never be called cold. It's warm. The spirit of art is strong, and despite all the odds, it will bring us into a better way of being. I want to just tell you a quick little story and then leave you with a challenge. A little story of these kiwis here. I made 15 of them for Christmas out of my hair. Until recently, in recent years, I could sit on my hair. It was very long, and I've had it cut. And I saved my hair in a bag to make a cloak for myself out of my own hair, because I'd made quite a few cloaks actually, and I thought, I've got to make something for all my family for Christmas. I've got no money. I never have money. I never seen a bill really in my life. I don't even believe in money, quite frankly. I'm very good at bartering, and it gets me by wonderfully. And I lived alone for nearly 25 years, lived that way. But my family are very rich, and they're wonderful people, but I made them a little kiwi like that with a hanger on it to go on the Christmas tree, because they all get around the world. And I thought, no, we're all Kiwis, I'll do this. But I wasn't able to be there that Christmas. It wasn't this Christmas, it was Christmas before. And I waited to hear a word of thanks. Not a sound, not a peep out of any of them. And I thought, I didn't give them a skateboard or a car, or I know I couldn't compete with all that, and I wouldn't even want to. And then this Christmas I was in Wellington, and my daughter, who is in Wellington, had been the head lawyer who sold Trade Me for $1 billion. That's one of her jobs. And then she became CEO of the Cancer Society. She's a pretty busy person. But she said, I've got a bag of decorations, and if you can get a tree, we'll put up a little Christmas tree. I said, fine. And she brought out this plastic bag, and here were the squashed kiwis. I said, but they were gifts to... she said, I didn't want them. They thought they were a disaster, that it was disgrace. They thought you were just making a joke of us. I said, that's my hair. I considered it an heirloom. She said, well, I have to tell you the truth now. The Trade Me put up a prize for the most rejected Christmas present, and they wanted to put the kiwis up first. And she said, I had to argue strenuously and say, you must not do this because my mother will be terribly upset. They're handmade, you can't do this. And she said, I just put them in this bag and threw them in the box of decorations. So I returned with 4 of them, which I intend to keep, because they taught me a lot. And what I've discovered from all the little creative things that I do, it's the best learning tool you can use for your life. You find out about people and ideas by being creative yourself. It's nobody else's business. It's your business. It's your lifeline. It's the one thing you were gifted with, your talent, whatever it is. If it's gardening, that's fine. I wouldn't know what it is. But there'll be a wide range of things people here passionately love and like to do. Attend to it. Develop it. Do not leave it. Now I want to leave you with a question. I've pledged to work for the culture of peace and become the chairman for Global Region 6, which is the United Nations are divided into global regions, and we are Global Region 6 here. And so I've become chair of that, so I may not be around here very much for a while. I know that AI is fantastic, but it is artificial. Art is not artificial. Art is real. There's a realness about what you produce, your ideas. They're precious. It's new, coming from the immeasurable blue through you. I want to leave you with this question. When did you personally, last do something original that no other human being could do? When did you do it? Were you 10 at school and argued with the art teacher and walked out? What happened? Where is your talent? Where is your gift? That is the secret to your success of an absolutely abundant future. And I hope, with great love, you can attend to it more often and develop it. I thank the Theosophical Society for inviting me. It's a wonderful organisation, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the lectures this afternoon and the next couple of days while I'm here. Thank you so much.